We have our first training camp update for the Orlando Magic as they get ready for the 2024-25 NBA season. Today we're going to be talking about what Cole Anthony said about Markelle Fultz's departure from the team and how exactly is KCP adjusting to life in his new city and with his new team. But before we get into everything talking about the Orlando Magic's first couple days and training camp, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel here at Magic Digest. Join the Magic family here on YouTube. We're trying to build an Orlando Magic basketball community here, and we're going to try to hit the ground running as the season tips off in about 20 days. Can you believe that? That's really, really close. Okay. So let's get into what exactly Cole Anthony said. Now, this isn't too much, but he's just kind of expressing, yeah, I miss him. He said when he was asked on Monday about Fultz, he said Markelle is such a heck of a player, not just heck of a player, but heck of a person. Whatever team he ends up on, they're going to become a better team automatically by adding him. Now, something like this, like a comment like this, isn't exactly going to be the most groundbreaking thing ever, but I think it's important to realize when Markelle Fultz, when it was reported that he was going to leave, he had been with the team for a long time, for the entire kind of new rebuild and old rebuild-ish under Jeff Weltman, and he kind of became a staple on the Orlando Magic. So a lot of these veteran players were younger players when Markelle Fultz initially arrived, and they were kind of like learning under him, and that was definitely the case for Cole Anthony as he kind of came into his own in the NBA. So it's understandable that he is obviously kind of missing the tutelage of a guy like Markelle Fultz and noticing it more so now that he's entering training camp. Now, Markelle Fultz now remains unsigned by any team in the NBA. We'll see if that ends up changing. I did make a video on what is next for the rest of his career. I think as it is currently stands right now, I don't know exactly if he is going to be signed to a team on anything other than a 10-day contract as it is right now, because training camp has started, so I don't think he would end up getting some sort of two-way opportunity, at least right now. He could be a guy that is added whenever the season starts in place of somebody for an injury. Now, I definitely think that that this departure isn't going to affect the Orlando Magic too much, but it's definitely something that I think is worth noting. Now, when we take a look at the guards on the team, we kind of got to see where exactly can the slack be picked up. We see Jalen Suggs, he's averaging 13 points per game. He slots into that new point guard role. Now, Markelle Fultz last year had 8 points per game, but he did have more assists per game, just by a tad, but still kind of the same amount nonetheless. And that is something that a lot of fans are going to have to keep an eye on. Can Jalen Suggs make up a bit of that lost production as far as the assist numbers go? There was a point in time where you really did think that Jalen Suggs was going to be the guy in a sense Markelle Fultz was going to be the guy in a sense as far as the facilitator for the Orlando Magic, the point guard for years to come, but that's obviously not the case. Now, I did also want to bring up a Paolo Banchero quote about Markelle Fultz because I think it's pretty important. He said whenever he was leaving, "Love always, brother, appreciate you, and glad I got to lace him up with a real killer." Now, this is something that I think goes a little bit unnoticed whenever a player kind of departs, and that is just kind of the overall impact that it has on the main stars. Paulo's going to be on the team for the foreseeable future, but obviously he mentioned, hey, look, you kind of miss him as he's going to leave and potentially go to another NBA team. Now, moving into where exactly the slack can be picked up outside of Jalen Suggs, well, KCP looks to be pretty darn good to start off the year. Now, there is a report coming in that he is kind of picking things up a lot quicker than people would have anticipated, saying that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is steps ahead in first practices with the Orlando Magic. Now, this is a quote as well coming from Paolo Banchero. He's just being himself, being super vocal, doing all the little things, picking his brain in the practice. I can tell me and his communication is going to be vital for our team and our success, as well as him communicating with everybody else. The stuff he is seeing out there is usually 1 or 2 steps ahead, just trying to use him as a vessel to learn and realize what's going on. Now, that was asked to him as well on Monday. how exactly he has been meshing with KCP. What exactly has that been like on the court? And that has got to be super encouraging. When Paolo Banchero sends out a message saying, hey, man, hate to see you go, to Markelle Fultz, but then gives that vote of confidence to KCP, that makes me and a lot of other Magic fans very confident in the process that is going on right now through the first couple days of training camp. You don't have to say something like this. You don't have to say we're picking up a lot from him, but you do end up saying it, so it does mean something. So I definitely think it's something worth noting. Now, how much can KCP end up picking up as far as the Markelle Fultz void? I think he's got more than, he's got more skills than are needed, than are exactly required to be capable to pick up the slack. So I think a guy like KCP, whenever he's moving into his role on the Orlando Magic, and Jalen Suggs, who is now going to be that number one point guard, are going to be able to pick up the slack that Markelle Fultz is leaving behind. Last year, Markelle Fultz kind of faded as the year went on and wasn't the guy that we kind of became accustomed to prior to his multiple injuries. Through his many flashes, we kind of were much or further removed from that point in time as far as Markelle Fultz's career was concerned. He wasn't that same guy. Now, Orlando got its first real scrimmage during Wednesday's practice session, and the impact that he made has been also reported, and it's been told that he did a really, really good job. Now, media is not privileged enough to see those scrimmages, as it is something that is closed off, but Caldwell-Pope is obviously already also very positive about his time here. He's also said, I think Paolo hit it right in the head. This is coming from Jamahl Mosley saying something about Caldwell-Pope. He said, I think Paolo hit it right in the head. He just knows where to be on the floor. It goes back to the fact he has played with some of the game's best players. He understands the spacing, the time to cut, time to move, find the open window, and pass the basketball. Defensively, he is always in the right position. That is what comes, and that's the experience and why we brought him here. He knows how to communicate those positions to the guys. Now, if there is ever something that was more encouraging, I would love to see it, because right now I know it's only a couple days into training camp, but to have these comments and to have these glowing reviews from these different types of people that are very high up in the Orlando Magic organization, Paolo Banchero, Jamahl Mosley, when we know that we got to replace the production from Markelle Fultz. I know it's not a ton, and Jalen Suggs is going to be a part of it. This has got to be a really good report. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. How is KCP going to play this year? And are you concerned about the team picking up any of Markelle Fultz's prior production from last season? But that's all the time I have for today with my Orlando Magic basketball news. We will see you guys next time with more Magic basketball content.